RX Television on RX Muscle. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave. And I am Tyler, your producer. But today I'm also your host, filling in for Sid, happily. And let's go to Dave for more on what's going on with Sid and his wife and potentially a new baby very soon.
Thanks, Tyler. Tyler, his first debut on camera as the host of the show. Sid is called me from the hospital yesterday. He's like, I'm on my way to the hospital. This was yesterday afternoon. My wife's water broke. And I said, oh, you're going to have a baby soon. Congratulations. And as of today, it's 24 hours later, and they still haven't had the baby. So we're waiting. Obviously, we're giving Sid off, for the week, maybe next week if I'm nice. But I'm pretty sure we'll probably give him off for next week, too. And, it's tough. A lot of you who've had babies understand how it is. It's a nerve-wracking time. That first week or two right after the baby's born is crazy, and you don't really sleep very much, and you try to get all the rituals and routines down. And Sid and his wife are new parents, so that should be fun. So we want to give a huge congratulations out to Sid. Even though the baby hasn't come yet, I know it'll be here by the time this episode probably airs. And we'll have to debut Sid's child at some point on the show, just like Logan debuted and Arya debuted. So.
Absolutely. All right, well, without further ado, let's get right to your questions. Got over 60 of them here popping up on Instagram. First one, Clayton Lindsay. Do you believe MCT oil is beneficial?
A lot of people ask me about that, especially lately with the whole ketogenic diet thing. MCTs, or medium chain triglycerides, are different than typical, the rest of the fatty acids we talk about, like monounsaturated fats, essential or polyunsaturated fats, the omega-3s and 6s. Those are long chain fats. And they do a lot in the body. They have the essential needs, the polys at least do. The monos are really good for your heart, and they do a whole host of other things in the body. Great fuel source. MCTs, or medium chain triglycerides, because they're short, tend to just be fuel sources in the body. They don't really do very much of anything else. Now, coconut oil does have some immune system boosting properties, but by and far, MCTs are just fuel sources. Now, a lot of people talk about that in relation to the ketogenic diet, especially now because that seems to be the in-fad diet. And like I said, I've been talking about it for 25 years. Now it's in fat, so everyone's saying, oh, you got to put MCTs, because number one, MCTs are a cheap source of fat. And they do convert to ketones pretty readily. And people say, well, isn't that good to use on a ketogenic diet? Well, no, not really, because you really want to use your stored body fat for fuel. You don't want to be giving your body a fuel source, because then what's going to make your body want to burn its stored body fat? So I'm not a big, keen person on using MCT fat. I like to use fats that actually have a need in the body, in addition to being a fuel source, also being necessary for repairing muscle cell membranes, for creating certain hormones, signaling compounds. There's a whole host of things that these essential fats are needed for. So if you're going to use fats in a diet, which is going to obviously be in a limited capacity, you might as well use stuff that your body needs rather than stuff that's just merely fuel. Let your body use the stored body fat as a fuel source.
Jay Stantino, what are your thoughts on the guillotine press for developing upper chest?
I'm not even sure exactly what the guillotine press is, to be honest with you. I'm assuming you mean coming up high right under your neck, where you actually look like you're going to be choked up. A lot of guys will do that supposedly more for upper chest development. And I think it works to a certain degree, but it's also got to be careful. If you're going heavy, you don't want that weight to fall on your neck. So make sure you have a spotter. I always found that, look, the powerlifters will tell you when you press, you want to keep your elbows in, you're stronger that way. But in bodybuilding, you want to keep your elbows out, even though it's theoretically not good for your shoulders. When you come down with that bar, you want to have your elbows out to the side, and you want to have your chest up. And I always like to bring the fist right to my upper mid chest, and then press from there. Now, if you're bringing it a little higher, you're obviously throwing your body into a slightly awkward position. So you're not going to be able to lift as heavy, and you certainly are making yourself open to more injury, I guess, or leaving yourself open to injury. So once again, I try not to do anything too crazy. I know, you ever see these guys who do calf presses? They do 14 different foot positions. The muscle is the muscle. It's going to work from every position. Now, if you have maybe this and this might be, two positions you can change. Just like you can do upper chest, mid chest, lower chest. When you start having 14 different variations of different levels, you're not really working any different part of the muscle. Usually, you're just putting your body in a compromised position where it's not biomechanically advantageous, and it could leave you open to injury. So just be careful.
This one sounds interesting. Louis Nasta, if someone is diagnosed with the MTHFR gene mutation and cannot methylate normal vitamins, would that have an effect on orals such as VAR, Winnie, or any others as well?
Not being able to methylate certain vitamins like folate or vitamin B12 really just means you have trouble storing them. It doesn't necessarily mean you have trouble using them. And I learned this one because I have trouble methylating B12 according to my DNA tests. But I always have normal B12 levels in my body because I take it supplementally every day, just in my V mineralized vitamin. So I probably never have a deficiency of it. However, B12 can be stored in the body, in the liver, up to 6 months, but if you can't methylate it, supposedly it doesn't store as well. So there's definitely some disadvantage of not being able to methylate, your compounds. Now, what was the second part of the question again?
It was, would that have an effect on orals such as
right.
VAR, Winnie, or any others?
Now, oral compounds are already methylated. They add a methyl group they're 17 alpha alkylated actually, and that methyl group on there makes it more resistant and it allows it to last more in the system. If you don't have that group on there, the liver breaks it down too quick and it's gone. That has nothing to do, that already has a methyl group on it. So we're removing the methyl group using our liver to do that, essentially. So your ability to methylate something has nothing to do with the methyl group that they add onto an anabolic steroid.
Another Dave _ Deco CQ22. Dave, do you have any tips for forearm growth?
I always had weak forearms in comparison to my arms because I have a long arm. But my forearms got better the more I trained them. And once again, I like to do reverse wrist curls off a bench, or even I just hold them in the air. I usually do one arm at a time with a cable, and then I'll put the cable in the hand and I'll do wrist curls. And that's really all I did. And I used to do those twice a week in my heyday. And it's funny, I stopped doing them for a while because my forearms kind of got big. We're balancing my upper body pretty well. And then I started getting wrist pain from bench pressing, and I realized that I was creating weak link. So always train your forearms. There's no reason to do 100 sets of forearms, 2 sets of wrist curls, 2 sets of reverse wrist curls twice a week is more than enough. Like I said, you can do it with a dumbbell, you can do it with a cable. It's just a strengthening exercise. Your forearms are kind of very genetic. Usually guys that have weaker forearms because they have a longer arm, tend to, if you overtrain them, they look worse. So hit them hard for like 2 sets and then let them rest. Remember, you're working them when you're doing bicep curls already to some degree. So you don't want to overtrain them either.
And I almost forgot, we have 2 questions from your Dave Palumbo Experience app. So lest we forget those. Dave, what's your takeaway from the Carl Lenore interview? I saw you were taking notes. Any thoughts on his peptide theories or blood donation after detox?
It's funny. First of all, the Dave Palumbo Experience app is my app that you can download at the iTunes store or the Android store. It's all my videos and my writings. It's a compendium of everything I've ever done. All my protocols are on there. It's a great reference, like a library reference. But we also do an exclusive Q&A on there for all members. So anyone who's an app member, can ask unlimited questions of me, and we post them all up on the thing, all the answers, the questions and answers. But I take the best ones and I do an actual Q&A video once a week that people get exclusive access to, only on the app. So if you guys want to check that out and you want to get more information and more Dave Palumbo education, you can go in there and download that to your phone. But once again, the question, what was the question?
Carl Lenore.
Oh, Carl Lenore. So Carl Lenore, it's funny. Throw that thing over there. I left on your desk, Tyler.
Oh.
Yeah, toss that over to me.
Oh yeah, this little right here, section.
Oh, you could hold it up.
All
right, give it to me. So this is pit paste, or it's called actually primal pit paste. It's Carl Lenore and I were talking about toxicity, about deodorants having aluminum in them, which prevent them from perspiring, and then they also have an smell agent in them. This primal pit paste, I guess, doesn't stop you from sweating, but it actually supposedly somehow naturally neutralizes the odor. So I haven't opened it yet, so I haven't tried it. Tyler and I are gonna do an experiment on it. He's gonna video me using it, and then after 3 days, if he can't stand the way I smell in the studio, then we're stopping the experiment. So yeah. I'm gonna give it a try. So this is one of the things I wrote down. I also started taking a magnesium, it's a chelated magnesium. I forget the name of it, for memory. He said, maybe I'm not taking enough of it because I can't remember what the freaking name of it is. I have it in my house. I just started taking it. So I'm implementing a couple things that Carl brought up and suggested. Not all of them, because I have enough neurotic rituals already. I don't need any more. So I added a couple things. We'll see how that works out. We're going to actually get called back, not next week, but the week after that, because he's going away. And we'll do a part 2, and maybe I'll tell him some of the things I added and what I felt about it, and we can go over some of that, because the interview seemed to be very popular.
Another one from the DPE. Dave, thanks for providing all the great content for females and all. For a woman that doesn't want to use anabolics, what else would you recommend outside of DHEA and Clen for a boost in muscle and leanness?
Well, I mean, if you don't want to use anabolics, there's really nothing else you can really use if you're not going to use any kind of drugs. I mean, there are certain natural fat-burning agents. Like I have a product called Lipolyze from Species Nutrition that uses non-stimulant-based ingredients to help curb appetite. Also burn body fat, waste calories, and it's very effective. We sell a lot of Lipolyze, and a lot of people like it, once again, because it doesn't raise your blood pressure, it doesn't raise your stress hormones in your body, there's no stimulants, you can take them right before bed, it doesn't matter. That works really well. As far as building muscle in women, like I said, I'm a big DHEA person, advocate, and that's something you can buy legally in the health food stores, because the reason I like it is because that's what women naturally produce, to produce testosterone. So their adrenal glands produce DHEA, and a certain percentage of that, given your genetics, will get converted to testosterone. So I found a lot of women, especially who have low sex drives or who just don't feel right, maybe their immune system is not functioning that well, you add 25 to 50 milligrams per day of DHEA, you definitely get a nice boost from that. At that point, from that point on, if you want to get any more, you really have to go to the next level. Some people use SARMs. I don't like them because, number one, they're not regulated. We don't even know what's in them. A lot of them have been tested. They were just estrogen receptor blockers. They weren't even the real thing. So, if you're a woman and you're going to take that next step, clenbuterol is probably the first step. It's a good fat burning agent. It does have some anti-catabolic effects, so you will put some muscle on it. It'll make you a little stronger. Anavar would be maybe the next step up from that if you want to venture into the anabolic steroid realm. It's relatively side effect free if you stay around, 10 to 15 milligrams a day. So once again, it's a personal decision that you have to make, out there, and everyone has their own boundaries.
Back to the Instagram questions. Oh, here's a good one. Classic Kylie. Yo, Dave, what are the qualities you see in competitors that make you say he's going to be Mr. Olympia one day?
You see it usually in younger guys, because when you see someone who has tremendous talent, they have great shape, their muscles, I'll give you, for instance, I really believed, and I still believe that he could have done it, but obviously it wasn't something that he was that, passionate about and willing to take risks for. But I believed Evan Centopani when he first hit the scene, when I was helping him back when he was like 23, 24, 25, 26. He was just a guy, he just started working out, and he was just amazing. He had arms, he had all the body parts, just like with tremendous shape and density, and you can't just, no one starts out like working out for a couple of years and gets that. That's just, you have to have a genetic gift to do that. And I really thought, he can go all the way. He turned pro in really 2 years, 3 years. He won the juniors, the first year I worked with him. He was second at nationals. The following year he won the nationals, then he won the New York Pro the year after that. This was a guy I thought was fast tracking it to the Olympia level. And he was doing well, and then he just, I don't know, Evan had his own agenda of what he wanted to do, and he started a family, and those become priorities. And I guess being Mr. Olympia wasn't a priority. He wasn't willing to take some of the risks that some of these guys took, and I can respect that completely. And then just recently he tore his quad, so I would imagine that he probably will come back at some point, but he's not going to be the best that he could be. And plus he's getting a little older now. But I thought initially that was a guy who was going to go all the way. Everyone knew when Phil Heath hit the scene and he won the Junior Nationals in 2005, everyone knew he was going to be a pro, and a great pro. I didn't know if he would be Mr. Olympia, but he certainly had genetics that would suggest that he would be at that upper elite level. You just can see it. It's the it factor. It's the wow factor in someone's physique. When I first started out, if you looked at me, you'd be like, this guy, he's not going to do anything. I knew that I mentally, that I felt that I could add muscle and I could get really lean, and then I could have some sort of an impressive physique. Wasn't delusional in the sense I thought maybe I could be Mr. Olympia, but I thought I could be a good pro. The bottom line is that I didn't have the genetic structure that some of these guys got. So you can have muscle mass, you can have leanness, but if you don't have the genetic structure, you'll never be the best in the world.
Okay. Oh, here's one that I personally wouldn't mind knowing the answer to. Dave, what's the story behind the tattoo you have on your forearm?
Means pain, actually.
Oh.
And back in the late 90s, mid to late 90s, I was using Nubain a lot, and that seemed to be the drug of choice for a lot of bodybuilders. It was like, something you took before the gym. It was great when you dieted, kind of killed your appetite, but you got really addicted to it. And I used to stick it in this vein all the time here, and I had a little. So when I stopped it after a couple of years, I said I'm done, and I just decided that it was really useless to be doing it. I had a mark there, so I said, I'm going to remind myself why I never want to do it again. So I put a tattoo there, and right over it, and every time I look at it, it reminds me that I never want to go there again. But most people get tattoos because they have some kind of meaning to them. I have a tattoo on my ankle with a dragonfly that says "mom" in Chinese writing. Other people have dad and their kids on their arm. So tattoos usually have some sort of meaning, and I think they're good because they're reminders. It's like writing. How when you're a kid you would write down a phone number on your hand or something like that. You write your friend's name on your hand. That's what a tattoo really is. Some people they've taken it to another level where it's art. At that point, but for a lot of people who have a couple of tattoos, it's more of like a reminder or something that is meaningful to them. And if you ask people, they always have stories. Why'd you get that? Well, and they'll tell you a story about it. So when you see guys that have 1 million tattoos and you ask them, I just was bored that day, or I saw this cool picture and I just figured I might as well add it. That's a different story. But like I said, for people who have tattoos in just unusual places, that usually has some meaning.
Nice. I'm going to throw 2 at you because the first one you could probably just quickly comment on. From Victor Saldana, please do an Iron Rage about the Buendia Sergio beef going on right now. And then after that comment, Dave, thoughts on Primobolan, worth using?
I did do a video. Tyler didn't upload it last night, so therefore it went up a little late, but it's up. It's up. So that should satiate your desire. We're also getting Boston Lloyd on tomorrow, so he's going to give his opinion on the whole thing too, because he was pretty adamant and had some pretty strong statements about the Buendia comments. So we'll find out what he has to say. I actually reached out to Jeremy. I don't know if he's gotten back to me or not, or if he's interested in coming on. I wanted to get, because sometimes I think it's fair. People take things out of context. He said one statement and no one else we never really saw the rest of what he said, and maybe he meant it in a certain way. So I would like to give him the chance to at least come on and tell his side of the story, because I don't think it was done. I don't think it was maliciously done in a disrespectful way. I think it maybe just came off that way because people took it that way. But like I said, if he wants to come on, I'm more than happy to give him a platform to talk about it. Now, what was the Primobolan question?
Is it worth it?
Primobolan's great. I love it. It's a very side effect free drug. It works really well. You feel good on it. You can eat on it. The only problem is that it's probably the most faked anabolic steroid on the market because it's very expensive. So when these companies decide, hey, am I going to put out a Primobolan product? They're like, yeah, we might as well put one out because everyone wants it. Now remember, people who put products out in our day and age are underground labs. These are people in their house doing this, more than likely. And they realize the cost is so high, so what they do is they put test-propionate in there, because testosterone propionate is the cheapest ester you can get out there. It's fast-acting, so you put it in there and people use it and they feel it. They're like, ooh, this stuff is strong. But meanwhile, it's test-propionate, which for a woman is going to be a serious problem. So that's why it's important that you test the drugs that you use. In today's day and age, very, very few things come from a pharmacy. Most are underground labs, which means there's no quality control. So if you want to find out what you're using is really what you're using, you can go to my DavePalumbo.com website and you can click on the Roy test kits that I sell on there. Bill Llewellyn has developed this great product. I've talked about it before. And there's different vials to test different compounds. And there's a chart right on my website telling you, look at the compound that you're trying to test. It'll tell you what vials to buy. And you buy the vials and you test your stuff. Because you know what? You're spending a lot of money. You're investing a lot of time into using this stuff and trying to build your body. The worst thing you can do is have the wrong compound or have nothing. At least it's sanity, peace of mind. Here's a good example in the snake breeding industry, now that I'm a snake breeder. If you buy a snake from someone and you think it's a male, and males can tend to breed after, sometimes 6 months of age, they'll breed. Females tend to have to get to be 3 years old. Imagine you buy a snake that you think is a female, okay, and it's actually a male, and and I've done this has happened to me, that's why I'm giving the example, and you don't check it, you don't verify, because with snakes, you just don't look, it's not like a dog. You actually have to evert their hemipenes to see if they're a male or female. If you don't do that and check, and you're growing this thing up thinking it's a female, and it's meaningless it's a male, and then you waste 3 years, and then the thing's not breeding for you, and you can't figure out why, and you find out it's a male after 3 years, you wasted 3 years of your time. Same thing with anabolic steroids. If you're using something that you think is one thing, and you actually have no active substance in there, you're wasting your time, and I've seen it. And it's a terrible thing as a coach for me to have to say to the person I'm coaching, you look like you're natural. That's a huge insult, and essentially I'm telling them, but I don't say that unless I really believe it, because I can tell what a person looks like. I could tell if they're on anabolics, and I could tell when they're not on anabolics. And when I see a person looking very natural to me, that rings a bell in my head, and I always ask them, hey, have you tested your compounds? Because I always tell people to test their stuff. And a lot of times they listen and sometimes they don't. And a lot of times whenever I say that to people, they're like, well, I really haven't. And then they go test it and they find out everything they have is no good. So that's a real nightmare scenario. So make sure you test your Primabol. And once again, it's the most fake compound out there.
From Mackie 1977, what are your thoughts on kratom, or kratom as I've heard some pronounce it? I have pain in my SI nerve root area, been to deep tissue and chiropractor with no luck.
I haven't seen any real good results with it, to be honest with you. Just being real about it. ART is probably the best thing for trapped nerve roots. I don't think he said that in one of his therapies. ART is active release techniques. It's a modality of tissue work where they actually apply pressure to certain muscle groups, and they have you move the muscle through its range of motion. So if they're applying pressure to your front delt and they're having you move it through its range of motion, the practitioner is actually stripping the adhesions, which are basically just scar tissue in the muscle. Because think about it. If two muscles that are supposed to slide past each other like this are stuck together because they're damaged or whatever, there's scar tissue in there, adhesions, whatever you want to call it, instead of moving like this, they're going to move like this. And when they move like this, the tendon is going to rub against something that it shouldn't be rubbing against. And that's going to cause inflammation and tendonitis and nerve root irritation, which is what it sounds like you're having done, or what's going on in your body. So if you find an ART practitioner, and you can go to activereleasetechniques.com, put your zip code in and find a guy in your area, I think you're going to find a lot more relief with that. Taking anti-inflammatories and all these other things are just taking away symptoms. They're not taking away what's the root cause of what's going on in your body. Because you can reduce all the inflammation you want. If you have two muscles stuck together, until they're unstuck, you didn't solve your problem.
We'll go with Ty Smith _25 because someone else replied, good question, and they want to know the answer too. You talked about calories and condiments. What about drinks? I put lemon in my water, but it says there are no calories. Is this true? And what about other 0-calorie drinks?
Yeah, read the ingredients. I keep telling everyone, it's so easy. Read your ingredients. If the ingredients say sucralose, ACE-K, citric acid, natural, and natural colors, then that's probably good. There's no calories in that. If the ingredient in these diet drinks says, fruit juices or, grape extract or something like that, then, honey, then there's sugar in there, there's carbs in there. Even though it might be a very small amount, if you drink enough of it, they add up. So you got to read the ingredients. Some of them say maltodextrin, that's a carbohydrate. You have to know what the ingredients are. But most diet sodas are fine. They don't add sugar to them. But some of these like fruit sodas might have some fruit juice added to them. They do it. So you got to read the ingredient list. Don't look at the nutrition panel. Everyone always looks at the how many grams of carbs, fat, and protein and calories. They see 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and they're like, okay, I'm good. But they don't read the ingredient list. You gotta read the ingredient list. You know what's scary? I did that video, and if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I did a video on hidden calories in foods. And at least 5 or 6 of my clients said to me, oh, after watching that, now I understand. I realized I was messing up. I took it out. And all of a sudden, these people are losing weight like crazy that I've been working with. So even the people I'm working with are doing stuff wrong. You would think that at least if I'm working with them, they're not making mistakes, but it happens. And that's why I have to really, question people. That's why I did the video, because I was finding so many people that I was working with making mistakes that I said, if my guys are making mistakes, then everyone's making mistakes with these sauces and these condiments. You got to be very careful with what you put into your body. read the ingredient list. It's all there. They cannot lie on the ingredient list. If it says honey or molasses or sugar or dextrose or fructose or whatever the case may be, steer clear, especially if you're on a diet.
From CTE Nutrition, a double-parter. Ask Dave, what's the most obnoxious t-shirt you own, and will you wear it on your next session of Ask Dave? And also, who was the top guru/coach you idolized in bodybuilding as you grew into becoming your own brand? And I'll keep the camera on me for a second. He is finding the most obnoxious t-shirt right now. And yes, it is the one that I assumed it would be.
No.
Yeah.
Is this it? I have so many great shirts that everyone sends me.
Identical color.
Yeah,
a lot of army greens.
This is the most obnoxious shirt I have.
There you go.
It's the most. I find it to be the most offensive. That's why I like to wear it only on special occasions. This one's pretty good too from Roger Stone. It's not offensive, but the back is a little offensive.
There you go.
I don't even like
the truth. Triggering libtards worldwide.
Yeah. I don't necessarily agree with that, but the point is that the Big Lenny T-shirt steals the cake for sure. But thank you for sending you T-shirts. If you do want to send T-shirts, you can contact me at huge285@AOL.com. I'll give you my address. And if you have a T-shirt you want me to wear, I do wear them all. I don't always give everyone credit because I can't remember who sends them, but I put them on at some point. If you watch our TV programming regularly, you'll see I have everyone's T-shirt. I don't think I've missed a T-shirt that's been sent to me yet.
And the second part was, what was your top guru coach you idolized in bodybuilding?
When I was coming up, there were no guru coaches really. I was my own guru coach essentially, but I did learn a lot from Bob Grushkin, who was kind of one of the original gurus. I went to him only a couple times, but a guy I was friendly with and training with, Doug Wentz, he was a Grushkin disciple. So a lot of what he taught me was from Bob. So I give credit to Bob for that information. Chris Aceto learned everything he knows from Bob Grushkin. So Bob was very instrumental. Probably a lot of the knowledge I have, though, about protein metabolism and all the nutrition stuff, a lot of that comes from Dr. Scott Connolly, who was the original inventor of Metrics and owner of the Metrics company. He sold that in the late 90s. He was like a mentor of mine, and I still can email him if I have questions. He's a genius, essentially. And then I had another crazy doctor friend. He was a dermatologist. He was a bodybuilder in Westchester, Dr. Mike Kaufman, who may rest in peace, he's not here anymore, but I learned a lot of steroid knowledge from him. So I had my own little, gurus, my own little people that I learned from, and took that information and I made it my own. And that's why when I do these guru courses, I teach people about nutrition and supplements and drugs, and then I tell them, hey, when you go home, you're going to take this information I gave you and you're going to make it a part of yourself, and then you're going to make it your own and you're going to give it to your own clients. And so that's how it works. That's how the learning process and the education process in this world works.
Got time for just a few more we can squeeze in. Let's see here. Shredded Ryan, if you had to pick between two compounds to pair with test during the off season, what would they be? And do you believe in using stanozol as a means to lower SHBG?
I don't think that stanozol or Winstrol lowers a sex hormone binding globulin. I don't even think Proviron does it, which is that's what it's supposedly sold for. But I haven't seen it illustrated on blood work that people get. I don't see any changes. Off season, I like to stack testosterone with equipoise. I like to stack testosterone with DHEA. I like to stack testosterone with Trenbolone. Those are my three favorites, and I usually alternate those every 6 to 8 weeks. And that seems to be enough. Like I said, off season, I like to really keep the stacks away from the orals, because the orals do tend to blunt your appetite, and it's very, very hard to eat when you're really not that hungry. It's hard enough to get 6-8 meals a day down to begin with, and then you throw some orals in and blunt your appetite a little bit. It makes it really difficult, so I kind of stay away from those.
And Martin_1, bunch of other stuff. How much soluble and insoluble fiber should one consume, and when is the ideal time to take it?
From my studies and the way I created my fiberlyzed product, it's about 18 grams of fiber per day is what you want to get. You're probably looking at about 16 grams of soluble fiber and about anywhere from 2 to 3 extra grams of certain specific insoluble fiber. We eat a lot more insoluble fiber in our diet because if you eat vegetables and you eat like salads and stuff like that, so you don't really need to go too crazy with the insoluble. I do like to target some specific insoluble, like I use corn bran as an insoluble fiber, especially because that helps really alkalinize the colon. I used to use wheat bran, which was very effective, but a lot of people obviously have the gluten intolerance, so I kind of switched it from wheat bran to corn bran. But the most important component of a fiber supplement would be your soluble fiber, because that's hard to get from the diet. You'd have to eat 25 bowls of oatmeal to get enough of that, and that's where you're looking at about 15, 16 grams per day, of a potent soluble fiber. So psyllium is 8 times more potent than oat bran on a gram for gram basis. So you could take 8 times less psyllium. So if you take 16 grams of psyllium a day, 8 in the morning, 8 at night, you'd have to eat, if you had to eat it eating from oatmeal and other sources of soluble fiber, you'd have to eat 8 times that amount. That's why there's no replacement for a fiber supplement. You have to take one. You cannot get it from your food. Not if you want to be a bodybuilder and you're eating 400, 500 grams of protein a day. There's just no time to eat all that fiber, and it just takes up too much room in your stomach. So just get a fiber supplement like Fiberlize. It has the soluble, it has the insoluble, it's in the right ratios, it tastes good. You mix it twice a day, and you're done with it. Ask anyone who's a regular. Go call Guy Cisternino, who's probably my best customer. You ask him about Fiberlize, and he'll tell you he'll never miss a single day.
We'll squeeze 1 and 2 more in here. Let's see. Zozayaja. I'm sure I pronounced that correctly. A month out from slap repair surgery. I'm wondering if I should use BP157 to help recover from the procedure.
Yeah, slap tear is a tear of the cartilage in your shoulder. I'm losing the name in my head right now, but it's the lip that surrounds the cartilaginous joint there. And a lot of times a little piece will tear up, and it looks like just a piece of meat hanging in the wind there. And they used to do, when I had it done years ago, the surgery, they used to just arthroscopically trim it off. And so pain goes away, no problems, but now you have an exposed portion of your shoulder joint there. The labrum, that's the word I'm looking for. The labrum is the lip of the cartilage lip that surrounds the joint. The problem is that leads to arthritis later in life. Of course, it led to arthritis in me, and now I have a shoulder replacement on this side, and I need one on this side. Nowadays, they repair it. They do a slap tear repair. They actually pin it, they screw it, whatever they do for it, and you're immobilized for 6 weeks until it heals, and usually that does the trick. Much better than the way they used to do it, like I said, because the way they used to do it, they were setting you up for failure right from the beginning. At the time, I didn't care. I just wanted to get back to training, but obviously now I'm paying the price for it. So the question was, what does he want to do with it? He wanted to know how many weeks to take off from the gym.
Hang on, I've lost it.
I get so into explaining to people what these things are that I forget what
he was just asking if you recommended that one compound.
Oh, the BPC. Okay. Yeah, so there's 2 healing peptides. There's TB500 and BPC157. And BPC157 seems to be really good for cartilaginous healing and stuff like that. Titan Medical Center at titanmedicalcenter.com sells a pharmaceutical brand of it. In other words, they compound it right within the United States. It's the only brand I would actually recommend because it's the only brand I can guarantee is real BPC157 at the dosage they say it's at. I started using a little bit of it just to see how it feels, and I feel my shoulder that's really bad feels a little better, to be honest with you. But I know it's not going to repair itself because I need a shoulder replacement. But the bottom line is that the healing peptides do work. The problem is the source where you're getting it from. Is it real? Is it full strength? No one knows. It's coming from China most of the time. If you can get it from, like I said, from a reputable place that makes it in this country and compounds it, it's a little more expensive, but it's peace of mind also. And especially if you have an injury or you just got over surgery, the last thing you want to do is put contaminants into your body at that point, because bacteria like to grow in new surgical areas. So once again, will it help? Yes. How much it'll help is really very genetically variable. Everyone seems to respond differently. Some people get good results, some people don't. I think a lot of people take it thinking they're going to get a miracle. Unfortunately, most people go to these modalities when they're desperate and their body is, you've been beaten up so bad or your injury so bad that they really can't fix it. These healing peptides seem to work in minor injury cases or acute, you hurt yourself in the gym, you go take it, you heal quicker, that kind of thing. Long-term chronic injuries don't seem to respond as well.
And the final question goes to Lewis Green the first. What's the longest you would run an oral cycle, i.e. Anavar or Winstrol, and what causes us not to sleep well during contest prep?
Let's do the not sleeping well. First of all, when you're hungry, you don't sleep well. Okay, that's just the bottom line. And carbs are precursors to serotonin, which is and tryptophan. So that helps you relax. So right off the bat, you're not going to relax as easily, okay, because of the fact that you're hungry and you're not making the neurotransmitters that relax you as well. On top of that, okay, you have to remember a lot of people take highly androgenic compounds, especially like compounds like trenbolone. Trenbolone is notorious for not allowing you to fall asleep. Many a sleepless night I spent trying to fall asleep on trenbolone. You just stare at the ceiling. It doesn't matter how tired you are, you will not fall asleep on that stuff. And you wind up having to take some kind of a sleep aid. Back in the day, we used GHB when it was legal. Nowadays you can't do that anymore. It's a controlled substance. But the bottom line is that contest prep is stressful to the body. The body doesn't like to sleep when it doesn't have what it needs, and when it's hungry, it wants to stay up. I don't know if it goes back to the old hunter-gatherer days when people are hungry. They know they got to get up early and catch the wild animals that are out foraging in the morning. So one way or another, I'm not really sure what the right answer to that is, but it's definitely true that when you are dieting, it is hard to stay sleep. It's funny when guys start carving up the last couple of days before a show, they can't stop sleeping. They're sleeping, which is good. When you're carving up, you should sleep because it helps direct the food into the muscles the right way. So if you are a guy, you're sequestering yourself in your hotel room, you're there a couple days before the show, eat, nap all day long. That's what I always tell people.
And just real quick, that first part again, how long you would run an oral cycle of Anavar?
That's a variable. Like if you're asking me how long you'd run Anadrol for, which is very toxic, I'd say 4 weeks, or Dianabol, 6 weeks. When you talk about Winstrol and Anavar, they're pretty mild. You can go 12, 16 weeks on those. They're not super toxic orals. They're way, way, way less toxic than some of the stronger ones. Halotestin 2 weeks, 3 weeks the most. So it's, once again, dependent on how toxic the drug is.
And I guess that's going to do it for Ask Dave this week. Thank you for bearing with me as I fill in for Sid Faruqi. Best wishes to him and the wife and the new baby very soon on the way. And thanks to Dave Palumbo and of course me, Tyler, your producer. We'll see you next time.